Hey friends, today we're going to be covering 5 beginner projects that you can add to your resume. I purposely done this in a way that I'll cover cloud storage, data visualization, AI and machine learning, networking, and security projects, so that no matter what you're interested in, you can add something to your portfolio. Plus, I'm going to show you a way to document your project step by step so that you can add it to your own resume or your portfolio. This is something that a lot of recruiters look out for, and it is a great way to share your work, so I'm going to add it into this video. Alright, I'm just going to get straight into it. So the first project we're going to do is host a website on Amazon S3. So I'm just going to click into here. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to have a website file, upload it to our S3 bucket, and then we're going to be able to access it. Now, just in terms of the steps of this project, this is a full step-by-step guide, but I'll just give you really quick run-throughs of what you're going to be doing. In step 1, you're going to create an Amazon S3 bucket. So think of S3 as kind of like an online folder system where you can store all of your files. Step 2 of this project, we're going to actually upload content to our bucket. So we're going to download these files and basically put them inside our bucket. So we have an HTML file, and then we also have a zip folder. The HTML file is basically designed for the website, and then the zip folder contains all of the images that are going to go on our website. Awesome. Once that's done, we're going to configure a static website on Amazon S3. So what we're going to do is enable static website hosting, host a static website for our hosting type, and then type in index.html, which is HTML doc for this project. Now, one thing I'd say is as you're going through the project, you're going to notice these boxes here that say, take a screenshot of what you just did, or it may ask you questions. Make sure to fill these in, because at the end, I'll show you what that's going to be useful for. Then we're going to use ACLs to make objects in our S3 bucket public. This will allow everyone publicly to be able to see index.html file. And we're going to do this by making the objects within our bucket public using ACLs. And then you should be seeing a lovely website just like this. Now, as with every project that I'm going to show you, make sure to delete your resources. Here's a list of the things you need to delete on screen now. And then at the end of your project, click this view documentation button and then download your documentation. Now you can save it to a portfolio. You can add it as a PDF. I'm gonna generate it as a PDF. I'm gonna choose light mode and I'm gonna save my documentation. And then I can actually share this post onto LinkedIn, X, Facebook, Instagram. I'm just gonna share it onto LinkedIn so you can get a bit of an idea as to what it looks like. So I click that share to LinkedIn button and it automatically writes my post for me. And now all I'm gonna do is just cancel out of here, make sure that I actually tag Nextwork so that we get a shout out. And then I'm gonna go to this plus button here, click on add a document, and I'm gonna choose the document that I just downloaded, which is my documentation. So now I'm gonna call it host a website on S3. I'm gonna wait for it to load so that when this is posted, your documentation as you go through the project and fill in the prompts is gonna look something like this, which is super professional and something that you can share on LinkedIn, share to recruiters, and is something that I definitely recommend as you wanna be sharing your work. All right, so the next project we're gonna be doing is visualizing data with Amazon QuickSight. Now for me, this is one of my favorite projects. I'm just going to quickly run through the steps with you. So in step 1 of this project, you're going to download your data sets. This is a Netflix data set that you can use for free. Same with the manifest JSON. And then in step 2, you're actually going to store that data set within Amazon S3. So you create your bucket and then you upload your files into Amazon S3. So in step 3, you're actually going to create your Amazon QuickSight account. But make sure when you're signing up, you uncheck this box here, as it's going to cost you otherwise. So awesome. So in step 4, we're going to connect our S3 bucket to Amazon QuickSight, and this is going to allow us to actually access our data in the QuickSight dashboard. From there, we can actually create our first visualization, which is super, super exciting. And you have the freedom here to actually play around with the dashboards and make something truly unique. In step 6, you're going to answer some more questions on QuickSight through your visualizations. For me, I really like this as it kind of simulates a work environment where people are going to ask you to visualize specific things. There is actually a secret mission in this project as well that's really cool. And that's going to show you how to refresh your data in the event that your data has changed. I think this is also super realistic as data is going to be constantly changing in the real world. And then lastly, to keep it free, make sure you terminate your QuickSight account and delete your S3 bucket to keep it free. In project 3, we're going to be building a chatbot with Amazon Lex. Now, I really like this project and it's super quick to do as well. But this is part 1 in a project series of 5 projects. So in part 1 here, you're going to log into your AWS account and then you're actually going to set up your Lex chatbot. This guide will show you exactly what steps to take here. Now in step 2, you're going to create your first intent. Now an intent is basically trying to find out what a user actually wants from their request. So for example, if you're trying to check how much money you have in your bank account, then your intent for the chatbot is to check your bank balance. So in this step, you're going to create your first intent, which is all about welcoming people when a user says hello, and it's super fun. In step 3, you're going to manage something called fallback intent. Now a fallback intent basically happens when a chatbot doesn't know what your intent is. It's kind of like when you ask a question to a chatbot and it says, sorry, I couldn't quite get that. That's exactly what we're doing in this step. Now, as this is part of a series, I'd recommend not deleting your resources if you want to do the next part of the project right away, because it's going to be following on from this project guide. However, if you're going to wait a few days, then delete your resources so you don't get charged, and then you can redo it in project 2. It's good practice anyway. All right, project 4 is building a virtual private cloud. Now, as I said, this is a great one for getting into the basics of networking. In step 1 of this project, we're actually going to create our VPC. So we're going to go to our AWS console and we're going to follow the steps here to create our first VPC. Now, a VPC is super important. If they didn't exist, it's kind of like having a Google Drive, but for everyone in the world. So you have to sort through all of the folders and files of everyone else because you don't have access to your own personal Google Drive. Now, a VPC is just creating your own personal network so that you don't have to be in this massive sea of other networks. Now, in step 2 of this project, you're actually going to create a subnet within your VPC. Now, I'd think of it as if a VPC was an entire city, and then subnets like different regions within that city. So the guide's going to show you how to create it and all the different settings that you'd need to do this properly. Now in step 3 of this project, you're actually going to create an internet gateway. Now the purpose of this is to attach your VPC to the internet gateway so that your resources have access to the outside world. So in this case, the internet. So you're going to run through internet gateways in more detail and then set up your own internet gateway. Now there also is a secret mission within this project where it's super cool. You can use the AWS CLI, so your command line interface, to launch your own VPC resources. Now you're doing the same thing, but just in the command line, and you're going to see how much faster it is. Now this is a really useful part of the project, as in the real world, you're going to be using the command line interface rather than clicking through AWS itself, as it's a lot faster. As always, as you're finishing the project, you can delete your resources, or as this is part of a series, you can go into the search bar here, type in networking, and click into here, then you're going to find that there's actually 9 parts in the series. So you can delete your resources, or you could just move on to the next project because it'll be building on top of this one. Now the last project we will be doing is security. So it's cloud security with AWS IAM. Now this project is really fun because you're going to be treated like a new member of the network team, tasked with boosting our computing power to match the increased traffic on our website. And then you're also tasked with onboarding an intern, the right permission settings to keep all of our resources safe. And in this project, you're going to run through a few steps. So firstly, you're going to launch your own EC2 instance. So an EC2 is a virtual machine. So you're basically just renting out virtual computers in the cloud. And this is going to give you a lot more flexibility and computing power to run this project. Now you can follow the steps here on how to do that. And then we're going to go to step, which is actually creating an IAM policy. Now these policies are rules for controlling who can do what to different resources that you have within AWS. So it's kind of like giving permissions. Now we're going to be writing this policy here in JSON, but it's going to cover exactly what each part of the code means. So now in this step here, you're going to create an account alias. Now an account alias is basically just a friendly name for your AWS account. So instead of having your account ID here, you're going to have your account alias. This is just going to make it easier to remember and share your AWS console's login URL with other members in your team. So for example, in this case, the new intern that we're onboarding. In step 4, we're going to create IAM users and user groups. So in this step here, intern doesn't actually have a way to log into the team's AWS account. So we wouldn't just want to give them our account details. So what we're going to do is set up a IAM group for the interns so that we can manage all of the interns' permissions in one place. And then we're going to set up a IAM user for our new intern so that they have a way to log into the system. So we can just follow these steps here to give our intern access. Now in step 5, we're actually just going to test that everything worked here. So we're going to log in using our intern's AWS IAM user, and we're also going to test their access to restricted parts of our environment. And then as always, make sure to fill in these boxes here so that you can get documentation at the end so that you can share this to LinkedIn. And in this particular case, what you need to delete is your EC2 instance that's running. And you should also delete your user group, your users, and your policy. And that wraps it up. Make sure to like, subscribe, all of that stuff, and join us next time to learn something new.